Hi, this is Julie Jakopic of iLead Strategies, and in this short video, we're going to talk about how you can end the frantic frazzle that sometimes surrounds our lives. I'll share 4 strategies for managing stress and having fun, and then 4 short practices to support you that you can do daily to build resilience and maintain that more calm and focused stance. The 4 strategies I'm going to share are to slow down, to speed up, managing expectations, lightening your load, preparing for crazy, and then 4 quick practices that you can do every day. First, let's talk about slowing down to speed up. Sounds a little backwards. Usually we think driving faster is how we get somewhere. But what happens when we get frantic is we run very, very quickly in circles. And the way to break that is just to stop. Now, I'm not suggesting a whole day off. I'm not suggesting 2 hours of quiet meditation in solitude in a dark closet. I'm actually talking about just A, consciously stopping, B, focusing your mind somewhere else so that you can break the pattern of frantic, and then resuming your life. So how can you do that? A, move away from the screens. They beep and flicker at us and maintain that high anxiety space just for a couple of minutes so that your right brain can catch up to your left brain and support you. Stop where you can be undisturbed for just a few minutes. And yes, ideally, I do mean for 5 minutes of meditation or exercise. But there's other ways you can do this without changing your clothes and disrupting your life. Get to a meeting 5 minutes early and sit in your car after you've parked for just a couple of minutes. You can take 5 extra minutes in your shower in the morning. That's actually my favorite place to think no one bothers me there. Take a 5-minute break at lunch to just walk around the block, but stop for a minute and then change your direction and go forward again. And in that way, you can keep moving towards your goals instead of in circles. Set and manage clear expectations. In a perfect world, everybody can read your mind and perform accordingly. But in truth, when we're running really fast, sometimes we don't give clear instructions. And sometimes many of us live in the world of perfect expectations, perfect family dinners, perfect airplane takeoff times and arrival times, perfect performance in meetings, perfect performance in papers, perfect performance in sales goals, perfect performance from everyone around us to make that true. Now, in truth, very few of us actually believe perfect is going to happen all the time. But we create sometimes a space where anything less feels like failure. So part of what we need to do is be clear with ourselves and with those around us how much perfect is really necessary. It's probably important that a final report not have typos and have accurate data. It might not be quite as important that the first draft look like that. It might be really important to have your family together for dinner. It might be less important that the dinner itself follow all the food recommendations of scientists from NIH to Natural Health Expo. It might be really important to make sure that you have a perfect record of going to the gym. It might be less important that every visit to the gym exceeds the performance of the last. It's important. Take a minute, set realistic and even stretch expectations, make them clear, and manage to them. In that way, you break the cycle of perfect and can actually take time to enjoy the results you achieve. Third, lighten your load. How many of you recognize this yourself in this picture? Between the BlackBerry and the cell phone and the laptop and the iPad and the telephone and the schedules that we have and the schedules of the people we love and the expectations of the people we work with, We're bombarded constantly 24/7 with high expectations and constant information demands. And our biggest challenge sometimes is to distill what information is truly important and what is merely information, and what things we really have to do and which can wait. I urge you to lighten your load. Every one of us has something that's been sitting on our to-do list for 2 years. Either do it or take it off the list. I'm brutal about this. You can get that 3-page to-do list down. You can delete the things that don't actually have to be done. You can delegate the things that don't actually have to be done by you. You can delay things that don't have to be done by midnight on Thursday. And you can ditch things that you know, you believe that you should do, but you're never going to do. Whatever those things are, get them off your list. They've been there for a while, and somehow the sun has come up and set every day. There are things on that list that need to go. Give yourself permission to pick the top 3 or 4 that really matter to you. Focus on them and see how many of the others you can ditch, delete, delay, or delegate. Lighten your load and, frankly, engage the people around you in sharing your goals. You don't have to do it all yourself. Prepare for crazy. Crazy happens. Thunderstorms disrupt airplane flights. Somebody gets drunk at a party. Computers break down right as you're sending that final report. Stuff happens. And we get crazy and angry and frustrated and frantic when it happens and we have no space for it. So the first thing I would suggest to you, and I'm guilty of not doing this all the time myself, is most of the people listening to this recording plan 100% of their time. And then when things come over the transom they didn't expect, there's no bandwidth to absorb them. If you know that's how your life is, then you need to leave 20% of your time open if 20% of the things that you do are actually things that disrupt your day. Number 1. Number 2, understand that stuff happens and spend your time less focused on perfect and more focused on what you're going to do if something goes wrong. Have a plan B. One of the things I find really important at work is to make sure that somebody else knows how to do some of the things that I do. So if I get stuck, they can still be done. Some of it has to do with making sure that your devices are charged and your chargers are with you so that if a plane is delayed, you're not stuck. Ironically, sometimes I go to the airport early to get stuff done. But build in just a little tensile strength, just a little flexibility from the very beginning, because even if you can be perfect, which very few of us can be, everybody else isn't going to catch up to that expectation. So leave some bandwidth and know when it's not possible to do that, and make sure your team or your family know that this particular time, those details really matter and your expectations are really high. But don't make that all day, every day, and give yourself a break. Now, I promised 4 quick practices that you can do every day to start making those 4 strategies happen in your life. First thing we talked about was slowing down to speed up. And I really do urge you to learn meditation. Now, when I say meditation, I don't mean 2-month trips to Nepal. I mean 5 minutes in the morning. I don't mean special attire and special footwear and special cushions. I mean stilling your mind. 2 really good strategies for doing that are to follow your breath. Breathe deep into your abdomen. The area below your navel should expand when you take a deep breath, and your shoulders should stay down. And just follow your breath. If you find yourself drifting into your to-do list or wanting to stop and grab a pen, let's occupy your mind with something else. And so what I teach is counted breath work. I'm going to do that with you so you can play this to learn it. It's really very simple. Take a deep breath into the deep part of your abdomen. Count to 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Keep doing that until you've done it 10 times. And the counting will distract the other stuff going on in your head. So again, it's a 4 count in and a 4 count hold, a 4 count exhale and a 4 count hold, and do it 10 times. That should be just enough to keep your mind focused away from all of the franticness. Second, this is quite the reverse. Dance, move. Now, many of us think exercise has to be changing your clothes, going to the gym, showering, and returning to your office. So then we get up an hour early and race to the gym, fight traffic, get home. We make a big production out of it. And while that is great, for many of us, we tend not to like that production, and we use the production as an excuse for not moving. So here's what I want you to do. For every hour and a half you sit at your computer, get up and move. If that means closing your office door and dancing to a tune, if that means going to the restroom so you can move, if that means stretching, if that means going downstairs and around the block and back to your desk, moving really matters. It extends your life. It also shifts your brain out of the frantic. Easy practice, 5 minutes. The third small practice is gratitude. It turns out that when we recognize what we are grateful for, it really benefits us. Now, it's always nice when we thank someone or are thanked, but it turns out simply recognizing what you're grateful for and taking the 30 seconds to do that is really helpful in lowering our blood pressure and having a better day. So I urge you to take just 30 seconds, look around you, and see what you might be grateful for. It may be a report that got in on time. It may be that you got a half day off on Christmas Eve. It may simply be that you're really glad there's indoor plumbing. Whatever it is, just take a second to recognize it. The last small practice is about that walk or about looking out the window. It's about looking at nature and remembering that we're part of a much larger whole than who we are in our daily life, and that we have much to be grateful for in the tiniest of things. So taking a walk or looking out the window are great ways to disconnect from the task for a minute, to reset our minds and our bodies. That minute you can take doesn't have to be a beautiful walk like this. You'll notice there's actually a traffic cone in this photo, and I left it there because it's real life. But you can notice the growing of the greens. You can notice the bird in that tree. You can notice that somebody took the time to plant funky little pansies by the flagpole in the parking lot. This isn't having to go to the beach. This is noticing small things in your environment. I also want to point out I did not suggest you find nature photos on your computer, which you could do, because what I really want you to do is to step away from that screen for a minute and just absorb the world around you and your place in it. I hope you've found these strategies and practices useful. I'd love to hear how they work for you, and you can do that in 2 ways. You can send an email to support@ileadstrategies.com. And if these practices were interesting and useful and you'd like to do more of them and learn more ways to build into your life the space to have fun and be successful, if you want to lead boldly, accelerate change, and ignite success while having a life you love, I encourage you to join us at Don't Await It, Create It. The link for that event is on the last slide. Again, I'd love to hear from you and know how these tips are working, and we'd love to have you join us.